All right, we're going to start with an NBA six-pack. I haven't done this in a while. I haven't talked NBA in over a week, which is my fault. I'm not perfect. I have 6 things that I wanted to throw at you. None of them have to do with the Philadelphia 76ers because we're going to be talking about them later today with Chris Ryan and Joe House. First thing, the Clippers without Paul George. So I took the under as a lock before the season, our over-under podcast with the Clippers, 37.5. I didn't see how they were going to have enough scoring, which is James Harden, Norman Powell. I didn't understand why they didn't give Paul George 4 years max. Like, you're already all in with this Kawhi contract. Why not just go all the way in on your team? Well, what did they know? I remember mentioning this on one of the podcasts. It's like, Ballmer, guy who just spends money like absolute fucking crazy. And this Paul George thing was too rich for his blood. What do they know? You have an athlete on your team, in this case for 5 full years, half a decade. And your trainers see stuff, your coaching staff sees stuff. Something about it made them a little wary of committing to a guy in his mid-30s who had, a major awful broken leg, some other knee stuff. Something made them go, this time it's too rich for our blood, which is interesting because they did this with Blake Griffin when they signed Blake Griffin to a big max deal and then traded him like 4 months later. And it was like, oh my God, they traded Blake Griffin. What are they doing? And then what happened? Blake Griffin's body broke down within 2 years. You watch Paul George. Now he's hyperextended the same knee twice. So you could say, that's a little fluky. When he came back from the injury, between those 2 injuries, he didn't look great. And if you're a Sixers fan staring at that max contract, I think you're in a complete panic. But here's why you can't celebrate too much with the Clippers. They did offer Paul George 3 years for $150. So it's not like they were like, we're out. We want no part of the Paul George business. They kind of wanted it at their price. What was smart was when they had a chance to sign and trade him, which is something that teams have done a lot in the past, where they was like, well, we have this asset, we got to turn it. And all of a sudden they're taking these contracts back. They were smart enough not to do that. They didn't do it with Golden State, had some possible trades. Denver, they supposedly talked to. So they turned the Paul George money into Derek Jones and Chris Dunn, $45 million for 3 years. So that's about 1/3 what Paul George would have cost. And then Nick Batum, 1 year, 4.9. It looks like he might be washed. But they have the ability now to slap contracts for bigger deals, slap them together, whatever. And the big bet was, can Norman Powell shoulder some of this burden? And he actually has. So I've been watching them because I've been rooting against them because I love being right. And they're 9-7. They've had a tough schedule. It's been like the opposite of a Lakers schedule. It's true, Laker fans. This win streak, like you haven't played anybody. That's true deep down. Clippers 9-7. They played Houston twice. They played Golden State twice. They played Phoenix twice. They played OKC, Sacramento, Orlando, and Denver. There's nothing going on here. And I'll tell you one other thing. I think the arena is really good. They played the Warriors last Monday, and I really wanted to go, and we had a Spotify thing I couldn't go. And somebody who was there told me something. Somebody that's worked for the team for a while told me something that I thought was a great point. It was the first Warriors game the Clippers have had as a home game where the Warriors fans didn't drown out the Clipper fans, where it actually felt like a Clippers home game, and they ended up winning. It was a classic Clippers-Warriors game where the Warriors played like crap, the Clippers looked great, then all of a sudden the Warriors are scrapping together, trying to win at the end. They didn't. But whatever Ballmer did with that arena, which is really cool, and the wall and the fans close together and trying to monitor some of the ticket stuff, it actually worked in that Warriors game. So I'm a little more bullish on the Clippers than I used to be. That's the first one. Speaking of the Warriors, it's a tiny one, second in the 6-pack. The DeAnthony Melton injury was a really, really secretly huge injury. There's been so many injuries this year, it kind of got lost in the shuffle, but he had really unlocked them. He was really good next to Curry. He was an excellent on-ball defender, a good shooter. They were 4th in defensive rating before he got hurt, and he was a great fit with Curry, and he hurt his knee, and it was like, then they said it was a sprained ACL, and then all of a sudden he's getting ACL surgery, and it just hurts them. They're not the same team. They've been trying to throw people in that spot, and we'll see how it goes with them, but he was the perfect fit, and it kind of exposed the secret issue with Clay the last couple of years where he kind of couldn't guard anybody. And if you have Curry that doesn't need to be totally protected because he's a really good off-ball defender, but you want somebody else taking that burden of going against the Ja Morant types night after night. Melton was doing it. I'm just watching it because I loved how the Warriors played the last time we did the power poll. I was talking about how I had them as a sleeper, but I really thought maybe they could be a real contender. And they still might be, but the Melton thing definitely hurts. So I didn't want to not mention that. Third thing for the 6-pack, Houston. They have the look. I know the look. They have the look. Third defensive rating, 11th offense. The Terror Twins, Amen Thompson and Tari Eason, have been they're not the league pack. They're not like best Oscar winner, best actor. I'm not even positive they're best supporting actor, but there's something, I don't know what Oscar they would win. They come in and they flip these games. They just have so much athleticism and so much defense between those two. They're terrifying. It's a little like what Orlando had last year. It's a little like what OKC has sometimes. But they have like, it's something to watch, and especially if you're gambling on games and you like player props and stuff. Like, watch when Houston goes against teams that have good swings. Like, they played Indiana, Mathurin had 8 points. They played Chicago, Levine had 15. They had back-to-backs against the Clippers. This is what really jumped out to me because I actually watched those games. Harden was fucking useless against Houston. Between Brooks and then the Terror Twins, like, it was just, you could kind of see him like, I'm tapping out. I don't like this. I'm not having a good time. Harden and Powell in back-to-back games were 21 for 58, 12 free throw attempts total, and they only scored 60 points, and Houston swept those games. And I just think defensively, there's really something here. I said this when we did the power poll, I don't even think they know what their team is yet. Like that, like Jabari Smith will have some games where he only plays like 22 minutes, only scores 4 points. He's a guy that if you're going to say who is not going to be on this team in a year, maybe that's the guy, because I think he's a real asset. They were playing small ball 5 with him last year. He's only $9.7 million this year. He could be the focal point of a trade if they want to make a trade. They've already said publicly they don't want to make a trade, that they're happy to have the kind of what Orlando had last year, what OKC had 2 years ago of, we're young, we're hungry, let's see where this goes, which I think is the right mentality. But they do have a lot of picks. They do have Jabari as the centerpiece of if you're actually getting a player back in the trade. So I'm just watching them, and I'm watching them in general because I really like them. Tuesday night, Houston at Minnesota with the Terror Twins and Brooks going against Edwards is, I think, the league pass game of the year that isn't Celtics Cleveland, because I don't think that was a league pass game. But I want to see them go toe-to-toe with that Minnesota team. Houston, to me, is a top 5 team in the West. I'm taking them very seriously, and I love the Terror Twins. So that's my third thing. Fourth thing, just a question. Did Heat culture die when they didn't get Dame? Because here's what's happened since. Remember, they had already drafted Hawkes, which is the last really smart Heat moment we've had. Since then, the 2024 Knicks, last year's Knicks team, kind of stole their identity as like the defense chemistry overachieving team. They had a terrible year. Riley got mad at Butler. The Rozier trade turned out to be kind of blah. And I'll admit, I like the Rozier trade for them. He was playing great for Charlotte. He's been kind of blah for them. I think he's averaging 13 points a game. There's times out there, he might be the Tobias Harris Award, Russillo's joke about, oh, I didn't realize Terry Rozier was out there. He's had some moments like that. Bam's gone backwards. Now, I assume that's going to turn around, but I'm just pointing out, he doesn't look like a top 15 player in the league. Nikola Jovic, who they were all excited about, blah. They're getting 24 points a game and a 49, 45, 88 shooting season from Tyler Hero. And as we're taping this on a Thursday, they're 6-7. And Boston and Cleveland seems like they're miles ahead of them. But the big thing for me, and a lot of people have talked about this week, and this is like, the Heat fans get mad every time I talk about the Heat. They had the 15th pick in the draft. They drafted Ware, the center, who barely plays, and they passed on back-to-back picks. Jared McCain goes to Philly, and Connect goes to the Lakers. And in the old days, the Heat, if McCain was on the board at 15, like, forget about Connect. I like Connect, but I can see it. He's 24. They already have shooters who don't really play defense. Like, I get it. McCain was the most Miami pick. I couldn't believe it in the moment. If you go back to my Twitter feed, I was going nuts about McCain. I was like, this guy, I know this guy's good because he was an LA kid. I watched him play in high school a bunch of times. He was my favorite kind of post-ladder guy in the draft by far. I would have bet anything McCain was going to be a good player. And they passed on him. And maybe it's nothing. Everybody misses on picks. They had Hero. They took Bam. They took Hawkes. Like, they're clearly really good at drafting. And they whiffed on this pick with two guys that really, really, really could have helped them. Big picture, I'm just not afraid of the Heat anymore. I think it's like the horror movie where you're not looking under your bed. I'm just not looking under my bed anymore with the Heat. Great run, 2020-23, and it's over. And we'll see what they do with it. But that McCain Connect thing is like symbolic of something that shifted with those guys. Fifth thing on the six-pack. So the NBA All-Star Game, Shams Charania, now of ESPN, reported that they're going to do a 4-team tournament this year. And they're going to have 3 All-Star teams, 8 players each. And then they're going to have the winner of the rookie-sophomore game. And so it's going to be 4 teams competing. Semifinal games up to 40 points. First team to 40, I guess, wins. Finals games up to 25 points. As usual, they didn't consult with me, even though I would put my track record of great, goofy NBA ideas against anyone in the 21st century. I just would. Just go look at the track record. It's there. I don't know why the rookie-sophomore guys are in this. And I don't know why each team has 8 players. If they had asked me, what do you think? I would have said 4 All-Star teams, 6 players each, so there's 1 sub. Has anybody who made this decision ever played pickup basketball? Who has 3 subs in pickup basketball? It sucks. I remember playing in a league one year in Boston when we had like 9 players and it was like short games and you're just shuttling guys in and out like it was hockey, and it sucked. I would have done 4 All-Star teams. I would have done 6 players each. Had the signature players of the league be the captain of those teams. So you have Steph, you have Giannis, you have LeBron, and maybe Jokic. I don't know, however you want to do it. Sorry, Embiid, you didn't make the cut. And done 6 players, then each player is a sub. And by the way, if somebody gets hurt, you still have 5 players. And maybe there's like a 25th All-Star who's like the emergency QB who can come in at any point if 2 guys are hurt. I just don't get the 8 players thing. And I don't understand why anybody wants to watch the rookie sophomore guys playing against these dudes. Not to mention, those guys are actually going to be really trying. And maybe that's why they did it. Maybe they wanted the All-Stars to try against the rookie sophomores. But it's like that's a pretty big spot to throw a rookie team in, especially when you have the draft that we had this year. That was pretty uninspired. The sophomores, whatever. But it was an easy tweak. I don't know how they fucked this up. As usual, they didn't ask me. 6th and last, I think Milwaukee's going to be fine. That's where I landed. I don't think they're going to win the title. I don't even think they're necessarily going to make the Eastern Finals, but I didn't think that before the season. What was in play for the first 3 weeks was this could be an all-time disaster. They're going to have to trade Giannis. Like, it just felt like all the darkest pieces of the season were sitting there. Giannis is averaging a 32, 12, and 6. It's like his 7th straight year where he's looked like one of the 3 best players in the league at worst. Dame has not shot the ball well, and they're still 6-9 with 3 horrible losses. One that actually seemed like there should have been a criminal investigation with the officiating. But 6-9 easily could be 9-6. 3 of the dumbest losses of the season. Green and Prince, 2 swing guys for them, both shooting 50% from 3. So Doc has just figured out, like, I'm probably just going to give up defense with the swings. I just want to make sure guys can make shots. That's why somebody like AJ Green is playing. And they're not a top 4 team. I don't think they're there with Boston, Cleveland, New York, or Orlando. But after that, I don't know who I'd like more than Giannis and the Bucks. I'd probably have them 5th. And all they need to do is get to the playoffs. And then you have Giannis, and you can try to stay healthy, and maybe you can find one shooter. They're minus 700 for the playoffs on FanDuel, which I think is notable. Should also mention FanDuel does not have odds for Philly to make the playoffs. So you literally can't find them because that's how crazy this Philly season's been. But I'm leaning toward Milwaukee's probably okay, right? Maybe they're not one of the favorites, but they're okay. This isn't going to be like a catastrophe of the season. Philly is not okay. We're going to be talking about that later. So that's the 6-pack for the NBA. But I have to bring in Steve Ceruti, Orlando Magic fan. There's some Franz Wagner atoning we have to do. I handed my Ringer 100 list over a week ago. I think I had Franz like in the low 60s. The list itself didn't do very well. All Franz has done over the last 2 weeks is said, not only are we not going to miss Paolo, but I'm actually an All NBA player and sign me up for this list. Is this a fluke or is this real?
I think it's real. I will say my biggest gripe with Franz is that like when in the past with Paolo, like when he would go on these quarter stretches where he'd clearly be like the guy and on a streak, they just like wouldn't give him the ball, or he wouldn't be like proactive and be like, no, I'm that dude right now. Like, Paolo, take a step back. And I think this, you never want to say an injury is like a blessing in disguise, but I kind of feel like Franz has found his groove again because he's just the guy now. And I'm kind of hoping like in the long term, this is going to translate to like a little bit like taking some of the pressure off of Paolo and Franz realizing like, hey, there are stretches where I can be that dude. Because I mean, he's averaging like 37 and 6. A 6-game winning streak. Obviously, we're recording this after the loss against the Clippers last night, and he didn't have a great game, but it's okay. It's 6 straight great games. This is everything that we wanted in a max player. This is everything that we thought he was going to be, and I'm looking at the Ringer rankings right now. It's doing my guy a disservice. It really is.
Where did he end up in the Ringer rankings? In the 50s?
He's 48.
Wow.
Which is, he's behind Scotty Barnes. He's behind, I mean, there are just some guys, like he's behind Dame and he's behind Paul George. I know there's the name recognition, but like you're telling me the Sixers right now, not for like the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, like this year, the Sixers would much rather have Franz than Paul George. The Bucks would much rather have Franz than Damian Lillard. Right. I don't even think it's close. So like I know the name thing, like we want to give those guys respect, but that's insane.
In our defense, when the first couple weeks Franz couldn't hit a 3, and it's like, what's going on? Where's Team Germany Franz? Is that guy coming back?
He's around 35% right now. It's come up. It's not terrible. It could be better. I still think it could be improved, but he's fine.
Team Germany Franz seems like he's back. It's pretty exciting. Well, listen,
he's got his brother. He doesn't need Dennis Schroeder. He proved, who knows? The trade deadline still, maybe the Magic will be looking for a point guard. I kind of hope it's not him, but he just looks so much more confident, man. And it's not even that like the defense is really good. He's like one of, or I have a couple stats here. Hold on. He's one of 8 players averaging 25 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4.5 steals a game. That's Luka, De'Aaron Fox, SGA, Harden, Jokic, Tatum, and Jalen Williams. Like he's on very impressive lists. So I just love this. It's like the Franz Renaissance thing, proving he's a max player. And, who knows? Like Paolo, he's going to be out probably at least another month or so. So this is things it's probably going to keep rolling.
Yeah, the thing you needed was with Paolo going out, how can Orlando keep their spot as either the 3rd or the 4th seed? How can you make sure you stay you're going to win the division? Although I don't even know if winning the division matters anymore. But 9-7, losing your best guy for God knows how long is not a bad place to be. We're taping this before the Lakers game, but the pod's going up for the Lakers game. The thing with the Lakers, they don't have really anyone on their roster to guard like good scoring wings like this, or good point guards, by the way. And they've had this stretch where they've won some games, but part of the reason they're winning the games is because they can play this lineup with Connect and Reeves and LeBron and D'Lo all together because they don't have to worry about guarding anyone. I want to see if Franz can light up the Lakers tonight because I think he can. It's the type of guy that I don't even know, who they'd have to guard him. So we'll see. I'm glad Franz is back. I'm glad for your sanity.
You're back in on the max player bandwagon. You're back. We flip-flopped a little this summer, but you're back now. It's good to have you.
Well, and then the other thing is Anthony Black, the last time we talked about this, like continues to be making strides. So they're laying the foundation. They're not in the Cleveland-Boston swimming pool, but they're at like the pool right next to it doing laps.
No, but you know what? Like I was talking to a buddy about this. The East is weird because I think before the season we were like, hey, it's Boston. Then it's like kind of the next like 2 through 8 or 9 were like, I don't know, could be like between like 2 to 3 games could be the difference at the end of the season. Now it feels totally different to me now. It feels like the Magic should get a home playoff series. Like that the top 4 thing should be a thing this year.
Right, so and you have a home playoff series that could be against Miami, that could be against Milwaukee. Like you want the home court, you want the game 7. And then when did they say Paolo's coming back?
Originally, I think it was 6 to 8 weeks, but I mean that was like a reevaluation period, so we still have another at least month to go. Which you know what, it's all right. Like just Franz is holding it down, and I'm just hoping that like there was a little bit of like, hey, creeping into my mind of like, can these two guys peak coexist together? Like they're both good together, but can it? And I'm just hoping like because this team is so Franz dependent. Before he went out or before Paolo went down. Like I remember talking to Raheem about this. Like this team's going to be awful to watch. Like they might win some games, but awful. And they've been significantly better. So the hope is that, Franz sort of realizes that, hey, I'm that dude too, and I'm an all-star caliber player, which I've thought for a while now. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was wondering if they're going to be almost like the Steelers, where they're winning 18-16 and getting 6 field goals, like whatever the NBA version of that. But yeah, they've been a little more fun than that.